The Conservatives have a new, mighty, powerful enemy, an enemy which could inflict real damage on them. Indeed, I think this will set off chills in the very heart of power. Now, which fearsome, strong, militant new political force am I referring to? Well, I am, of course, referring to the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. I'm not joking. This is a charity with 1.2 million members, whom, at a guess, some of whom will be Tory voters, Tory-inclined swing voters, even Tory members, and some of them will be true blue types who live in the Shires. And their organisation has launched an absolutely astonishing and entirely factually grounded attack on the Conservative government. Now, this is a bit of a roller coaster, so buckle in. Their onslaught came in a deeply angry thread on Twitter, which begins with, in capital letters, liars. Oh, we love to see this. It has a picture of Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, obviously, and unfortunately, Michael Gove, Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities, and Therese Coffey, Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, with, again, in big red letters, liars. Little exclamation mark as well, plastered all over their little Tory faces. So they correctly observed that yesterday your government announced the first reversal in environmental legislation for decades. They quote an expert on the country's new amendment, the government's new amendment, which would disapply habitats regulations to allow pollution without mitigation in England's most sensitive nature sites, as they put it, basically getting rid of water environmental restrictions for new housing developments. And they add, and all the while you pretended to be a government that cares about nature. It's now very patently clear that you do not. They go through some of the greatest hits of Tory lies on the matter. 2019 Tory Party manifesto. You all pledged to deliver the most ambitious environmental programme of any country on earth. Lie. Oof. Saying Rishi Sunak in your first speech as Prime Minister, you said you would deliver on this manifesto of protecting the environment. Lie. Double oof. They also quote Rishi Sunak saying he was committed to protecting our environment for future generations. Lie. Triple oof. Therese Coffey saying that she was clear in Parliament about the government's commitment to uphold environmental protections. Lie. Oof Kano. Michael Gove, when you were Environment Secretary, you pledged to do all we can to protect our precious natural environment. Lie. Oof o'clock. Michael Gove, in July 2019, you spoke about how protecting the environment was a critical duty of government. Lie. Oofageddon. Now, they end by saying we need the lies to stop and the work to save nature in this country to start. Our members, supporters and everyone who loves nature demand it. Stand your ground, comrades. That is an absolute bloodbath, that, isn't it? It is a massacre. KO. There is no coming back. You've nailed them on the facts. They are lies. If they sued you for libel, which I think would be pretty unwise, they would lose. Now, sadly, a U-turn, I'm afraid, a retreat did actually occur. They tweeted saying, we are in a nature and climate emergency and that demands urgent action. The RSPB is deeply frustrated by the government's reneging on its environmental pot promises, but that frustration led us to attack the people, not the policy. This falls below the standard we set ourselves, and for that we apologise. We will continue to campaign vigorously on behalf of nature, but we will always do so in a polite and considered manner. Guys, come on now. When you say attack the people, not the policy is not disembodied. It's people, politicians, who are accountable, who are responsible for the policy. You, of course, need to take on the politicians. That's how a democracy works. You have accountability for elected politicians if they lie, if they're dishonest, if they abandon their solemn promises, commitments, pledges, then they should be directly confronted, which is what you did. And when you said they're lies, they are lies. What are you supposed to sugarcoat it? I mean, it's actually lying to say it's not lying. I mean, come on, what are you doing, guys? You had them. Don't U-turn. Presumably, you had donors, the government, and angry right-wing supporters breathing down your necks. Well, actually, here we go. We've got a guy called Ben Caldicott, who's a member, incidentally, of the Conservative Environment Network. He tweeted, whatever one thinks of the government's policy proposals and their record on nature, these tweets are simply not an appropriate contribution to our public discourse from such an important and highly respected organisation. We can strongly disagree and make our case without calling people liars, except when they lie, in which case you can call them liars because they're lying. And people who lie, well, we have a quite concise term for that. They're liars. Anyway, as a trustee, I have raised this issue urgently with the CEO and chair, among others. Oh, you snitch, you big Tory snitch, honestly. My brilliant colleague George Monbiot has more on this fella. Ben Caldecott was research director, he tweets, at Policy Exchange, the dark money junk tank. Oof, I like the way of words George has got, always. That has done more than any other to trash environment policy in the UK. Now is a trustee of the RSPB. That's the problem, not the RSPB correctly calling out the lies of government ministers. Amen. Thing is, we don't have Tories, do we, apologising for trashing the environment or threatening our natural environment or lying. Or just generally trashing the country. They're not exactly lining up to apologise. No, so instead of powerful politicians who are responsible for the really pretty horrendous state this country's now in, have you seen it? We have a charity protecting birds forced to apologise instead. That really sums up power in this country, doesn't it? It really does sum up the society that we have. Now, they didn't actually delete, or haven't yet, at the time of this video, the original thread, so do keep retweeting it. The facts are that the government's own environmental watchdog says ripping up pollution rules for house builders are a regression which will degrade England's rivers, which of course they will. Michael Gove said himself, it's a widespread myth that the quality of our water has deteriorated. Is that true, Michael? Are we being strictly accurate with the truth there? The singer Fergal Sharkey's become a real stalwart champion on this issue. He's like the big campaigner on water, on our rivers, waterways, all the rest of it. Tweets, let me help with that. Not a single river in England passes the chemical test, not one. They all fail, every single one. The ecology test, question mark. In 2009, 25% of rivers were in good condition. 2016 fell to 14%. Government's prediction by 2027, that will have fallen to 6%. Shame on you. Am I going to go with him or Michael Gove? I think I'm going to go with Fergal. It is striking, isn't it, how the Conservatives represent so much of rural England. Look how they treat it. And this is the party supposedly of conserving, yet they allow the trashing of the country they profess to be so patriotic about, all in the name of profit. I mean, look at their logo. David Cameron, obviously as opposition leader, changed the Conservative Party logo to a tree in an effort to showcase their environmental credentials. But they probably cut down that tree by now. You can see, David Cameron himself said cut the green crap, which led to genius ideas like scaling down the insulation program this country had, which has helped make the cost of living crisis worse because that would have lowered people's fuel bills and also protected the environment. But you can see that, here's another case of the government putting profit, the sorts of people who bankroll the Conservatives, ahead of, in this case, our natural water and our environment. And that, I'm afraid, is a tragedy. Where's Labour in all this? You'd think Labour would come out swinging, wouldn't you? You'd be like, wait, Labour, this is an open goal. No, it falls to the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds to become now the opposition in this country, because Labour have not denounced the government in these terms. They just denounced their house building record. The house building record is a shocker. We can obviously turn that around without trashing our rivers and our natural environment. Labour should be saying that. They're not, because they're useless. Anyway, all power to whoever tweeted out the RSPB thread originally, or the team. I hope you're all having a lovely day and have a great weekend ahead of you. And for those who forced the RSPB to U-turn on this, well, look, if you accidentally stub your toe a few times in the coming days, I'm not gonna cry over it. Anyway, do like and subscribe. Do support us on patreon.com/Jose84 if you want to keep the show on the road. Hello to everyone on the podcast. Do listen there. I'll see you soon.